What is going on? Hey, everybody, welcome to your favorite podcast about airplanes and shit. Keys to the Jet. I'm your host, Red. You've missed me. I know you have. I've missed you guys. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're a podcast. We talk about excuse me while I turn this fan off. It's getting all crazy. We're a podcast that talks about anything aviation, anything military, and anything that I fucking want to. Yeah, buddy. Freaking want to. Sorry. Freaking want to. My bad. Anyways, hope everyone is doing well out there. And if this isn't your first time here and you're a veteran, thank you for listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for being that badass person. Thank you to our patrons. You know, the usual. The Mayor, Goodyear, Freaky Freeland, fuck you, Cody. And Gregory. Yeah, dude. I listen. I forget people all the time, dude. All right. So let's get a little background music going here, I think. Right? You hear it? I don't hear it. Gotta turn it up. Turn it down. Turn it up. What the hell is going on here, dude? Anyways, dude, the world has been crazy lately, right? What's going on? All right, I'm trying to get some sweet background music going here, but it's not letting me. I don't understand what's going on here. Anyways, there's so much crazy shit. Yeah, like you see the airplanes crash in Mountain Home in Idaho the other day. Was it Mountain Home? Those two F-18s, man. What a disaster, dude. What is going on? Glad all pilots made it out safe. It looked like there were 4 parachutes that popped. So that's always a good thing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Let's see. All right. Today I was going to talk about what was I going to talk about today? Today I was going to talk about the F-14 because, or at least, you know, do a first part about the F-14 because it's the 40th anniversary of Top Gun. I don't know if you're a Top Gun fan, but I'm a Top Gun fan. And yeah, I think it's kind of cool. So that being said, I think that we should get right into what I'm talking about, or we can go for this day in aviation. We could do some news, and then we could talk about the F-14, or we could talk about the F-14, then go into this day in aviation, go through some Air Force times, go through the air, the war zone, talk about everything going on. Excuse me. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Let's do the F-14 one, huh? Let's go into the F-14 here. I just got to find it. I got a little script written for you. Little script. All right. La la, dead air is dead air. Let's see, dude. I don't know why the shit isn't working. Hold on. Let's see. Does this work? Maybe this. Maybe that. I don't hear it. Maybe, you know what? It'll probably be in the recording as soon as, like, I play this and edit it and whatever before I put it out. All right, you know what? I'm not even gonna fucking edit it. I'm just gonna put it out. Maybe I might edit a couple spots where I'm like breathing real heavy because I'm fat. Well, while I'm sniffling and shit. All right, let me get some water. Let's do this. All right. Well, this is the birth of the Tomcat. Can't talk. How the F-14 came to rule the seas. Ladies and gentlemen, and degenerates of the flight line, maintainers hiding tool cribs. Maintainers. You know what? Let me start over. I'm very sorry. Ooh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, degenerates of the flight line, maintainers hiding in tool cribs, pretending to inventory safety wire, salty Navy dudes, aviation nerds, and that one guy listening to this while pretending to work in QA, but actually shopping for motorcycle parts online. Welcome back to Keys to the Jet podcast. I'm your host, Red, and today, boys and girls, we're talking about one of the sexiest damn aircraft ever made. And before the F-35 guys start typing aggressively in the comments section while drinking sugar-free lattes and wearing Oakleys indoors, calm the frick down, bruh. Your jet is kind of cool too, but not as cool as the Tomcat. But today belongs to the king of cool. The airplanes somehow looked angry while parked. The airplane that looked like it could steal your girlfriend, beat your ass, then trap on a carrier in weather that would make most people cry. Today, we're talking about the F-14 Tomcat, but not the movie version, not the Danger Zone version, not the beach volleyball, sweaty Hollywood version where somehow everybody on a Navy base looked like a fitness model with perfect hair. No. Nope. Nope. We're talking about how this thing actually came to be to fruition, if you will. Because here's the thing people forget. The Tomcat didn't just magically appear because somebody at the Navy woke up in the morning and said, hey, yeah, you know what would be cool, dude? Let's build one of the most badass airplanes ever made. No. The Tomcat, or F-14, was born out of frustration. It was born out of fear, born from politics, from bad leadership ideas, expensive mistakes, and, well, the Navy getting absolutely freaking tired of being told what they wanted. And if you've been in the military, you know exactly how this kind of goes. You know what I'm saying? Some big shot in Washington who hasn't touched a wrench, turned a bolt, launched a jet, or smelled hydraulic fluid in 20 years decides they know what everybody needs. And the dudes actually doing the work are sitting there like, hey, bro, this ain't gonna work, dude. And that, in many ways, is how the Tomcat story begins. So grab your caffeine, your nicotine, your tornado from the shopette that has somehow been on the roller grill since the Bush administration, or whatever else you'd like, and let's get into it. Because before the Tomcat, the Navy had a serious problem. Now, to understand why the F-14 exists, we got to go backwards a bit. Actually, we got to go into the Cold War. Well, I don't know music for the Cold War, and I wish I could, but I don't. Excuse me, ASMR. Oh, my bad. I have to do it right. ASMR, does it soothe you? Are you soothed? I hope you're soothed. And yeah, so we're going back to the Cold War. Everybody says the Cold War, and immediately half the audience starts mentally checking out because they think we're about to do some boring history teacher lesson nonsense. No, just stay with me. All right. Because without the Cold War, there is no Tommy the Tomcat. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union basically entered into what I lovingly call the world's angriest staring contest. Nobody wanted to push the button. Everyone had nukes. Everybody was terrified. Everybody had an itchy trigger finger, and everybody was trying to outflex each other technologically. And aviation, man, oh boy. Aviation became one giant testosterone pissing contest. You built the bomber? Cool. We built faster interceptor. You built missiles? Cool. Uh, we build better radar. You build submarines? Cool. We put airplanes on floating cities and park them outside your house. And the Navy's role in all this was massive. Because unlike the Air Force, the Navy had a unique problem. Their airfields moved. And by moved, I mean giant floating chunks of steel in the middle of the ocean. Aircraft carriers, which sounds awesome. So you remember that landing on a carrier basically is basically controlled of violence. Carrier aviation is one of those things where if you've ever seen it in person, you don't understand how ridiculous it is. So if you've never seen it, you don't know how ridiculous it is. I can't read my script. I even fucking got down here, dude. ASMR. Just kidding. Imagine trying to land a jet at night on a runway moving through waves that's shorter than a normal runway. Wow, everybody involved is sleep deprived and fueled entirely by caffeine, nicotine, hate, and bad decisions. Well, that's carrier aviation. And because carriers were so important, protecting them became one of the biggest priorities of the Navy. And if you lose the carrier, congratulations. That giant, expensive floating city full of airplanes just became the world's most expensive reef. And the Soviets knew this. See, during the Cold War, the Soviet had a plan. Soviet Union had a plan. The plan was honestly it was scary, right? They weren't necessarily trying to fight the United States ship for ship. Instead, they wanted to kill carriers. And that was the big prize. And just like us in, World War II, we killed their carriers, right? Japanese. And they had bombers for the job. Big ones, fast ones. Aircraft like the 216 Badger, the 222 Blinder, later the 222M Backfire. Big, ugly, angry machines carrying anti-ship missiles designed to ruin an American admiral's entire day. The idea was simple. Launch waves of bombers, fire long-range missiles, saturate defenses, sink carriers. And suddenly, America's power projection gets real weird real quick. Now, imagine you're in the Navy, looking at this threat in the late 1950s, 1960s, and you're thinking, well, hell, we need something that can kill bombers before they even get close. Not dogfight, not just escort. No, destroy threats from far away, far away from the fleet. I mean, way out there, dude, beyond the horizon, before missiles are launched. This becomes incredibly important because this thinking right here, this is basically the DNA of the future Tomcat, and I think future just airplanes in general, right? Long range fleet defense. That's the key phrase. Excuse me, let me get some water. ASMR. Fleet defense, remember that because it matters. Now, around the same time, aviation thinking was getting weird, like real weird. And when I say weird, I mean people genuinely started believing dogfighting was just dead, dude. Gone, finished, over. Which in hindsight, is pretty funny, especially if you heard I think something I had done before. Um, Military planners started saying things like missiles are the future, guns are obsolete, turning fights are over. Pilots won't even see each other anymore, bruh. And honestly, you kind of get why they thought this. Radar was improving, missiles were getting smarter, aircraft were getting faster, and everyone assumed World War II style dogfights were ancient history. The future was going to be push button warfare, lock target, launch missile, go home, easy peasy, simple, done. Only problem, war has a funny habit of laughing at your plans. And it's like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face. You know what I mean? It's true. It is true. And this mentality started to heavily influence aircraft development. One jet in particular became the poster child of this thinking. The F-4 Phantom II. Anybody know about the F-4? Now, before anybody freaks out, let me say this. The F-4 was cool. It's an absolute beast. Turned like a refrigerator. It was fast, powerful, could carry enough bombs to relocate geography. They used it as a, what do you call it? Wild weasel. Crew of two, could do damn near anything except turn real quick. And if you ask a maintainer, it also leaked enough fluids to permanently season an entire flight line and was, well, built with safety wire. But the Phantom had a philosophy problem. Originally, no gun, none. Did not have one. Why? Because the missiles were supposed to handle everything. No more close-in dogfights. No more guns. Just missiles. Easy day. And on your way. Except that's when Vietnam happened, dude. And Vietnam had some very strong opinions about everybody's assumptions. And Vietnam was about to humble damn near everybody involved in military aviation. Because remember what the big brains had convinced themselves of: dogfights are dead, missiles solve everything, you'll never see the other airplane. And on paper, sure, sounds cool. In reality, bro, reality had other plans for these guys. And now, when the U.S. gets deeper into the Vietnam Navy, aviators start finding themselves in situations that looked way less like the future, way more like old school aerial combat. Only now everybody's hauling around way more technology, know how to talk, and a lot more stress. You had Navy crews flying around the Phantom off carriers in some serious ugly conditions, dealing with weather, limited visibility, fuel constraints, surface to air missiles, anti-aircraft artillery, and enemy fighters that were way more dangerous than people gave them credit for. And that's where things got interesting. Because of North Vietnamese Air Force wasn't dumb, not even a little. They weren't even trying to go toe to toe with the U.S. in some giant Top Gun free for all over Hanoi. Nah, these dudes fought smart, usually very smart, and then they used hit and run tactics, guerrilla tactics, ground controlled, intercept, ambush, fast attacks, and they flew airplanes that, while older in many ways, were absolute nightmares in close combat. Aircraft like the MiG-17. I know some of you are already thinking, wait, MiG-17? Isn't that freaking old? Yes, it was old. Subsonic looked simple, but you know what else? It was light. It was agile. Agile. Could turn like a pissed off hornet, unlike the F-4. And then you've got American jets built around missile engagements suddenly getting dragged into knife fights. Well, that's when things get awkward real fast. And now the Phantom had speed. Phantom had power, and the Phantom could climb. But in close turning fight, especially early on, it wasn't always living its best life because it turned like a refrigerator. And remember, ASMR, excuse me. And remember, it didn't have an internal gun because apparently somebody thought airplanes were just going to politely launch missiles at each other from a distance forever. You know, kind of like the English used to like line up and fire at people in lines. The idea started falling apart real quick. And here's another thing people forgot. Early missiles, bro, they were not the laser guided death sticks people imagine today. These things were still growing up. The AIM 7 Sparrow had a lot of issues. AIM 9 Sidewinder, better in some ways, but still far from perfect. And missile reliability rates early in Vietnam could be rough. When I say rough, I mean you get missiles that failed to track, failed to fire, lost lock, did weird shit, and straight up said, nah, bro, nah, today I'm out, dude. Could you imagine if you finally get a shot, dude? Heart pounding, split through your flight suit. You got freaking enemy lined up. Fox 1, nothing. Fox 2, nothing. Meanwhile, Ivan Jr. over there in his MiG is turning around like, oh, we fighting now? That changes your whole day, dude. Yeah, you probably just shit your flight suit. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. And on top of that, the rules of engagement made things even more frustrating because political concerns about accidentally shooting friendly aircraft or neutral traffic often require visual identification. Excuse me, man. Got this sniffle. Every time I get on this microphone, I start talking to you guys, I get like a sniffle kind of thing going on. I don't even know what it's crazy. When I get off here, it'll go away. All right. Meaning, even though you had radar and missiles, sometimes you still had to physically get eyes on the airplane before engaging. Dude, that's dumb. And guess what? Dogfighting suddenly matters again. Turns matter, energy matters, pilot skill matters, and the Navy started paying attention real hard. Because unlike some organizations that double down on bad ideas forever, the Navy actually started asking uncomfortable questions like, why are we losing fights? We shouldn't be losing. Why aren't missiles performing like promised? Why are our pilots ending up in turning engagements? Did we actually stop teaching people how to dogfight? And the answer to that last one, kind of. Now, this is where they smartened up. So where they smartened up, and instead of pretending everything was fine and making PowerPoint presentations nobody needs, which let's be honest is usually how military problems get handled. They actually, before they actually start fixing stuff, the Navy looked at combat data. Wow, they analyzed it, study engagements, review failures, and what learned changed everything. They realized they needed better training. Way better training because technology alone wasn't saving people. Pilot skill mattered, situational awareness mattered, tactics mattered. This eventually leads to one of the most famous schools in military aviation history, Top Gun. Now, before everybody starts humming Kenny Loggins, no, not the movie, The real Top Gun. The Navy Fighter Weapons School, created in 1969, and its mission simple: teach pilots how to absolutely ruin someone else's day in the air, advanced tactics, air combat maneuvering, energy fighting, weapons employment, learning how enemy aircraft fought, understanding the weaknesses and strengths, and making sure naval aviators stop getting surprised. Guess what? Kill ratios improve dramatically. Huh. Turns out having people know what the hell they're doing is useful. But while all this was happening, Navy also realized something else. They didn't just need better pilots; they need better airplanes. Specifically, they need a fighter that could do two things real well. One, protect the fleet from the bombers. Remember the bombers we were talking about? Still scary. Anti-ship missiles, very much a problem. And actually survive in a close fight. ASMR. If things got ugly, are you soothed? Are you? Because Vietnam proved one thing clearly: no matter how much technology advances, eventually somebody ends up close enough to ruin your afternoon. So the Navy starts thinking hard about the future and what it should look like. Here's where the story starts getting spicy. Because while the Navy is trying to figure out this shit, Washington decides to get involved. And somebody says, good news. Washington has a plan. They got a plan for you. Everybody in uniform immediately starts sweating because in the early 1960s, Secretary of Defense had a big idea. And on paper, it sounded okay. But he wanted commonality, meaning instead of every military branch building their own special airplane, why not build one aircraft for everybody? One airplane, shared costs, less money, more efficiency. Excuse me. You're here. Excuse one moment. I'll be. Okay. Hey, hi. I'm back. Sorry, had to take off there for a second. Anyways, everybody share the costs. Less money, more efficiency, and what could possibly go wrong? Oh, buddy, everything could go wrong. Because the Air Force and Navy wanted completely different things. The Air Force needed a long-range strike aircraft, and the Navy needed a carrier-capable interceptor. Those are not the same mission at all. And that's like asking for one vehicle that's equally good at Baja racing and hauling lumber from Home Depot. Could it exist? Maybe. Would it do either job perfectly? Excuse me. Absolutely not. But the Pentagon said, nah, make it work. And that decision, that beautiful disaster, would lead directly to one of the biggest headaches in Navy aviation history. The airplane that almost killed the Tomcat before it even existed, the F-111B. And boys, this next part of the story gets real messy. And with that, I'm going to leave you right there. To be continued, part two, the F-111B disaster. McNamara, TFX program chaos, Navy frustration, carrier suitability problems, and why the Navy finally said absolutely not. So, join me on the next episode where we talk more about how the F-14 was born. And yeah, and I'm going to try to do it tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do it in another day or two. Okay, don't quote me, but I'm gonna try. Don't hold me to it because it'll probably be another week, but I'm gonna try to. All right, you guys. But it's been about 30 minutes. We're gonna go on and get. You know what? Let's do this day in aviation and see what happened, and then we can get on with our lives and then go on to the next episode where we're talking about the F-14 Tomcat, which is still pretty cool, pretty badass jet. All right, this day in aviation, 19 May of 2000. Oh, what is that? What is that? Atlantis. What did it do? Okay. 19 May, let's see. 1976, Strategic Air Command Boeing B-52 Stratofortress 8-engine bomber took off from Carswell Air Force Base, Fort Worth, Texas, on a training flight. As the airplane's landing gear was retracting, the hydraulic system failed, leaving the right front gear with its two-wheel bogie partially retracted and unlocked. The hydraulic system failure also disabled the B-52 steering, brakes, and rudder. Captain James, an instructor pilot, took command of the aircraft, diverted the airplane to Edwards Air Force Base in California. So, excuse me, so that the bomber could land on the large dry lake bed there. After a 4 or 5 hour flight, making several practice approaches, Captain Ewell landed the aircraft with no brakes. It coasted for 2.5 miles before coming to a stop. Oh, no one died. Good for them. Let's see. La 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 la. Let's do another one here. Let's look at another one here. 19 May 1959, the first Boeing 707 436 Intercontinental FAA registration made a 1 hour, 11-minute first flight from Renton to Boeing Field, Seattle, Washington. The 436 was a stretch version of the 707 120, but with Rolls-Royce Conway 508 bypass turbojet engines, and in place of the standard Pratt & Whitney JT36C turbojet engines. Ooh, so cool. 707. All right, you guys, you know what? We're going to get on out of here. Again, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening. Again, if this is your first time here, welcome. Hope you join us again. Go check out our older stuff. We're on all social medias. Yeah. Thank you for our patrons. Obviously, you guys have been a big support. Patreon.com/Keys to Jet podcast. Thank you, Gregory, the mayor, Freaky Freeland, fuck you, Cody, and which one did I forget this time? And Goodyear. Appreciate you guys. The mayor, everybody. I love you guys. And I love all of you that have followed us for a long time and keep on keeping on. Where, we got to get out there, get some more audience. Share with your friends. Share with your frenemies. Leave some comments places on what you want to hear. You want to hear me shut up for an hour and do different stuff? I will. What do you want to hear about? You want to hear about airplanes? You want to hear about something cool about the military? You want to hear something cool about what I like that's not airplane or military related? It's whatever the hell I like. Cool. Let's hear about what you like. You like metal? You like metal music? I like metal music. Yeah. I also like punk rock music and ska music and all types of others music. So yeah. All right, you guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I love you. Okay, bye. Stay frosty.